The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are presented by Belly Up Sports in association with Gozilla Media. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of your hosts, and to my right is a man who is equally cross as I am after he found out that Don Mattingly is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Dustin Henry. Dustin, how are you tonight?
This is ridiculous. I was great. I was pretty good, until you told me
I dropped
this
that
fact.
truth bomb on you.
You did. You blew my mind. You blew my mind because I was telling you, Donnie Baseball is my favorite Yankee, man. He's my guy. He's my guy because I grew up watching him, and my dad loved Don Mattingly. Dad's favorite Yankee is Mickey Mantle for always and forever.
Mine too.
Well, they have good taste, I'd say, both of them. But Donnie Baseball was my guy. Mattingly was the one that we were all rooting for when the Yankees went to that series against the Mariners in '95. Everybody was trying to get a championship for Donnie because he had toiled on these horrible teams while hitting the cover off the ball. And I submit that had he not had the injuries that he had hampered his career, he would have been even better. But we can always pontificate. But we need to talk to the baseball writers. Maybe we can get the cred heads on this. Maybe they can start a campaign. Or we can say hashtag get Don Mattingly to the Hall of Fame. Mattingly to the Hall of Fame. I don't know. We got to come up with a catchy name.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, his eligibility, the stupid eligibility rules with the Baseball Hall of Fame with the baseball writers. All right, I'm going to put it out there. Rob Manfred, praise the Lord, he'll no longer be the commissioner of Major League Baseball in 2029. Yeah. But here I am. I'm going to put it out there to the YouTube verse, to the podcast verse. I'm putting it out there. Put me in as commissioner of baseball, and I will make sure that these dumb, stupid Baseball Writers Association rules and with the eligibility for the Hall of Fame get changed, because there are several players from our generation who deserve to be in that Hall of Fame. Don Mattingly is one of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and this is no disrespect. We talked about it a few weeks ago. Todd Helton is in the Hall of Fame. If Todd Helton is in the Hall of Fame, Don Mattingly should be there. I thought he was already. I just assumed he was in. That's why my mind was so blown. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. This is an injustice.
Yep. And I'm sure Wise El Jefe, who has checked in, says, hello, gentlemen. Good morning. Good evening to you, Wise. I appreciate you stopping by. I will play that PSA, but I'm pretty sure he would agree with us that Don Mattingly not being in the Baseball Hall of Fame is probably one of the biggest, I would say the biggest sports injustices that's currently going.
For sure. It's terrible.
And by the way, I will play that PSA right now.
Always.
The following is a public service announcement from Wise El Jefe.
Boston.
This has been a public service announcement from Wise El Jefe.
By God, that's Wise El Jefe's music.
It sure is. It sure is. Well, we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes of this week's of this Tuesday edition. But first, we gotta remind you on the social media side. Please follow us on our social media channels right down here below: Twitter, Instagram, and the I guess now scarcely used TikTok again. It's at NoCredsREQ. YouTube.com/NoCredsREQ. YouTube.com/@NoCredsREQ. And while you're at it, please give us a like, comment, share, and subscribe to all of our social media channels. That would help out a lot. And also tell a friend. I mean, with the sharing part, tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell a Graham. Yes, even Grahams will probably watch this show or listen to the show while they're sleeping. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast on a myriad of podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Good Pods, wherever you podcast. Rate and review. Please have a 5-star rating on the podcast side. And also, if you're on a platform where you can review this show, please do. And we might even read it on the air, because ratings and reviews get more of the word out there. We haven't had a review in a while, so we're praying, we're hoping, please leave us a review. And because we are a live show on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and some Saturdays, not the football season's over, the Saturday Brunch edition will be sporadically here and there, maybe twice a month. But because it's a live show on those days, we want to hear from you. We want your comments. And I know, Dustin, it's always soothes my beastly soul when I play that magical sound.
It warms my icy heart.
Yeah, so please engage with the show. We got plenty of comments in the comments section. Wise is one of them, but we also got some ladies in the chat, so it'd be awesome. It's awesome that they're here. But Let's begin, Dustin, with All-Star games. And I don't know if you pay attention to the NBA All-Star game this weekend, or NBA All-Star weekend period, between the slam dunk contest, the three-point contest, the duel between Sabrina Ionescu and Stephen Curry, and also the game itself. It was largely forgettable because I forgot the All-Star game was going on. Apparently the dunk contest was pretty forgettable in that there was no originality. Well, there was a lack of originality. And the fact that a G Leaguer won the dunk contest again.
Yeah, I was going to say,
don't know who.
Not the first time.
No, it's back-to-back, actually. I don't know who won the three-point contest. I personally don't care. And Steph Curry beat Sabrina Ionescu only by 3 points in their shootout. And then came the game itself. Can you take a guess what the final score of that game was, Dustin?
Well, I'm not gonna guess because I cheated, because you did send me a screenshot. So I recuse myself from the line of questioning, sir.
All right. So let's put it this way. So I put it on my personal Twitter. On my personal Twitter, I said, and I quote for myself. Let me bring a tweet real quick. And what I said on Sunday night was, I don't follow the NBA as much as I used to, but I still pay a little attention to the NBA All-Star game. And I had this observation. If one of these teams scores 200 points tonight, I will not be shocked. At halftime, and this is the first act of this play. All right, this is only the first act.
Yeah.
Second act, I did a quote tweet of that first tweet with the caption, "Whoa, we're halfway there." Like I said, I don't carry tune very, very well. The score at halftime was 104-89 in favor of the Eastern Conference. I went to bed, again, not caring in the world. I woke up just to check the score to see if my prediction had come true, and it came true. Final score: Eastern Conference 211, Western Conference 186. And there it is. Color me shocked.
Yeah.
Which I said to myself, have all these All-Star, now the original part of the All-Star game I think the NHL, if I remember correctly, in the NHL, was to raise money for an injured player who had suffered a brain. I think he suffered a brain injury. I think it was Howie Morenz who suffered a brain injury during a game. So they were paying for. So the NHL players were trying to raise money for his hospitalization. The Major League Baseball, I believe, was for the World War II effort. I don't remember the Pro Bowl except for the fact that it used to be used to be NFL All-Stars versus the Super Bowl winner, and then it changed to AFC versus NFC. Now it's just a flag. Now it's just literally a flag football game. And NBA All-Stars, I don't remember. I don't know the origin, but I used to look forward to it every year. I used to look forward to it, especially growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, and I would say into the 2000s too.
Mm-hmm.
I used to look forward to it every weekend. I used to wait for hopeful to watch the highlights of the kind of cable in the early 90s. I used to wait for the highlights of the slam dunk contest, the 3-point contest to see who won. And then they had the game on NBC and NBC. It used to be a whole weekend affair because I was playing basketball at that time. I was playing backyard basketball just on the court, just random with some friends and my brothers. That's why I really cared about basketball. But I don't really care much for this anymore. And I kind of wonder what this inflated score being the way it is. And I actually also saw a tweet from Scott Van Pelt of ESPN, who said, I'm going to paraphrase this, but I think I got it right. I think I got the quote right. If you don't care, then we don't care. And he was saying it about the NBA All-Star game. And remember, ESPN and ABC, there was broadcasters of the NBA. So I got to ask you, Dustin, and again, this is the inflated score of this basketball game. Have All-Star games, not just the NBA, but in other leagues, have they outlived their purpose?
Well, if you're watching live, you saw me shake my head, so you already know my answer. But for the audio folks out there, the podcast diehards, I am among you. Yes, an emphatic yes, in my opinion. Emphatic. Because, and I'm going to start with baseball here. And baseball back in the day, even as far back as I believe the 70s, 80s, or up to the 70s and 80s, you were excited to see the All-Star game because it was going to be the first time that some of these titans from the National League played your favorite players from the American League. And a lot of people still have strong feelings about which league is superior. But now that they've gotten rid of, now that there's a DH in both leagues, that kind of has gone away because there's not the same feel. But the National League used to have a decidedly different feel because you had to account for the pitcher hitting, or you had to try to find other ways to manufacture runs. Whereas, Edgar Martinez made a Hall of Fame career out of being a designated hitter. In the AL for those on the Mariners, he was unbelievable as he was the first DH of consequence that I can remember, but I know there were others before that.
Harold Baines, saw him get inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2019. That was it was a great class too.
Yeah. That was a good class. But so in baseball, except for the World Series, you weren't going to see these stars play each other, and you could create these dream matchups in your head, But now with interleague play and stuff, the All-Star game is no big deal. It's been rendered irrelevant, and then they tried to make it mean something for home field advantage, in the World Series, and it ended the first year they tried that. It was Bud Selig was sitting there baffled. They didn't know what to do because it was a tie. There's just that
was 2002. That was
2002, which we were just talking about.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I remember what happened. The catch, Torrey Hunter went over the wall to steal a home run that was actually going to be the go ahead run for the National League that Barry Bonds hit. And I remember Barry Bonds rounding first. And that was the third out of the inning.
Yeah.
And then Torrey Hunter's coming in, and you see Barry Bonds pick up Torrey Hunter, like jokingly carry him around, like, "What are you doing, man?"
Yeah. Torrey Hunter, man, he was so great. He was such a great center fielder for a while on those Twins teams, and I think later he went to the Angels. But yeah, so that started with the baseball because you used to be able to see two teams, the stars of each league play each other, but interleague play has largely rendered that moot. It doesn't have the same excitement anymore. And then you hit the nail on the head in football. They don't want to get hurt, which I understand, but it's turned into just a flag football team. And then they add more to this backyard feel by having the team captains. The last few years, it's been the Mannings. I don't care. Honestly, the NFL one is the one I care the least amount about now. And then the NHL All-Star Game, I rarely watch that. And NBA All-Star Game, I haven't watched in years. But I will say that I still do enjoy All-Star weekends, the respective ones. The Derby I watch every year, especially with some of the new format changes. I really like some of the new like the sudden death rules and things of that nature. The Derby is a good event. I like to watch it. The NBA All-Star Skills competition, I'm with you, Ryan. I never missed that. I have not. The dunk contest was always the main attraction for me. I loved the 3-point contest, but the dunk contest was always the main attraction. And forgive me, I'm going a little long here, but I got to give credit where credit is due.
Oh, please do. Please do.
I'm not always the biggest. I have a lot of complicated feelings about one Stephen A. Smith, but he had an interesting point that I saw on ESPN on his show. He blames the deterioration of the slam dunk contest directly on LeBron James. He correlates it exactly to LeBron James because, and he was going back. He was going back through the years. Spud Webb used to be in the dunk contest. Jordan did it, I believe, 3 times. Even back, early 2000s, late 90s, Vince Carter, when he was doing acrobatic stuff.
Oh my gosh, Vince Carter was unbelievable.
The dunk contest, there were those years where I think Tracy McGrady was in there. There were some people that were some high flyers, and they were known for it, and they were stars for their respective teams. And everybody kept saying, LeBron, do it. Like, we want to see you do it, because say what you want about LeBron James. Like I said, a lot of people have a lot of opinions, and that's their right. But the man can dunk. He can do a lot of things. It would have been amazing to see LeBron in his prime do the dunk contest. But when he bowed out and said, I'm not going to do it, a lot of other stars started to follow suit. And they're saying, I'm not going to do it either. Why should I put myself at risk if nobody else is going to be there? So, and this is no disrespect to some of the players that have won before, but they're not, even I can remember years ago, Blake Griffin, he came in before injuries got him, and he jumped over a car and stuff. People were doing things.
That was that was.
Yeah, he jumped. Blake did a version of that, and then there was also Nate Robinson used to go into the dunk contest, and I mean, hats off to Nate for always giving it a shot and doing some cool things. But now it's just there's not that much star power at the dunk contest anymore. No. And I think years ago, Zach LaVine did a cool dunk where he blew out a lit cupcake on the rim. I can't remember, but I don't watch the dunk contest anymore. And that used to be like one of my favorite events. Now, the 3-point contest, I think, has gone up in importance because some stars still do show up for that one. That's the one where you might see some people. And I was impressed with Sabrina Ionescu, her showing. She shot from the NBA 3-point line too. She's like, hey, I want to prove. And apparently this is something her and Steph talked about. They wanted to bring – Steph's a big WNBA guy. He has daughters. He feels it's important. He wanted to bring some importance to it, some new eyes upon it. And Sabrina did very well for herself. So we'll see what happens. And then let's see, which one did I not go over already? We did NBA, we did NFL, and we did. I think
you went through them all.
Yeah, I think I hit them all, because then the NHL skills competition, I would still watch that too. I like to watch the hardest slap shot. I like to watch some of the skating of the obstacle course. But if I miss it, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. The Derby is the one that I most reliably will watch. But the games, to me, irrelevant, largely irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would say the one thing that keeps the interest in the Major League All-Star game, Major League Baseball All-Star game, is the home run derby, because it leads up to the All-Star game itself.
Yeah.
I would like to see the All-Star game start earlier in the night. I would like to see it start in prime time, because prime time actually starts at 7 p.m., not 8 p.m. So I would like to see it start at 7 p.m. because, yeah, it's the summer. It's considered the summer classic. It's the summer classic. It's all this romanticism with baseball. We had the home run derby, and I love the fact that people were tuned into the home run derby, and then Major League Baseball changed the format, because it used to be you get a certain amount of outs, and then you get 10 outs, and winner moves on to the next round. Now you get a certain time limit, and if you hit a home run, I think if you hit consecutive home runs, or if you hit a home run within, I think, the last 30 seconds, you get an additional 10 seconds or 5 seconds added on.
Yeah.
So that makes it more entertaining. Now, there is a thing where they would say, I think when Aaron Judge won it in 2017, 2018, like he gassed himself out and he was doing so great, and then all of a sudden after the All-Star game he is not the effective hitter as he was, but that's why he's not in the All-Star game anymore. but I think the format to keep people interested in the home run derby, that works, because it's always interested me. Home run derby has always interested me. NHL, they changed things around with the skills competition, but the one thing that they've dared to do that other leagues haven't, but it's worked, is they changed the format to, it's not East Conference versus West Conference anymore, because the game got long, there was too many goals, and they tried the whole captain versus captain thing, where they select players and they draft players, and they did that for an entire team. But then they switched over to 2 mini games and 1 game to decide the winner of the All-Star game. They started that a couple years ago with the divisions. So you had the Central, the Metro, the Atlantic, the Central, and the Pacific. So you had All-Star teams, you had teams representing their division rather than their conference. And that seemed to work. And it was 3-on-3. I think it was 3 periods of 5 or 5 to 10 minutes each. And the winner advances, and the winning team splits. Literally, they split a pot of $1 million. So everyone on the winning team gets a share of $1 million. I think the players, I think the coaches get their share, or is it just I'm not sure if it's just the players, but they get their share of $1 million. So that at least there's an incentive to win the game. Basketball, NBA has not. When the Pro Bowl's useless now with the flag football thing.
Yeah.
And they had the fun skills competition. One thing I would like to see them bring back, I would love to see them bring back. I don't know if you remember this, Dustin. Maybe you weren't into football back then, but they had the quarterbacks challenge.
Oh yeah, I love the quarterbacks challenge.
The quarterbacks challenge was so awesome. I want them to bring that back, because they had it always came down to 2 quarterbacks every year when I was growing up. It usually came down to John Elway and Dan Marino. Those are the 2 those are the guys who were the last quarterbacks surviving. I would love to see them bring back the quarterback competition. Right now they have the goofy games with the tug of war and the bench press and the dodgeball. It's just like, all right, Quinn Williams, great, you went to the Pro Bowl, but what's your purpose of being there? Oh, you're gonna play dodgeball.
Yeah.
You're not in the game, you're not affecting the game.
Yeah.
I remember Andre Reed had a tweet before the Pro Bowl saying, "Yeah, I was in the Pro Bowl. That's when it mattered. That's when pride mattered for your conference. You were representing your conference. You were selected to go to Hawaii. Yeah, it was great to have a free trip to Hawaii every year, but it was also a great thing because you were representing your conference. You were playing with the guys who were the best in your conference, and you were playing against the guys who were the best in their conference, and you won. And you had some pride in that. You had some pride. Now it's just Manning versus Eli versus Peyton, because we gotta give them something to do because we signed them to contracts and we need to entertain the crowd. And it's like it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And the NBA has lost the plot. NBA hasn't changed their format since basically the 1980s when they started the 3-point contest, when they started the dunk contest. And yeah, there've been some really entertaining games over the years. The one All-Star game I remember is 1988. Because I remember watching my first dunk contest. That's when Jordan took off from the free throw line.
Yeah,
and won that with a 50. Won a dunk contest with a 50. It was him head to head against Dominique Wilkins. They were both the dominant dunkers at the time.
Oh yeah,
and I would say that yes, there were some blame lies at the feet of LeBron James for not participating in the dunk contest. I think even Kobe Bryant participated in the dunk contest.
Yes, I think he participated like one time, because he was the other one that everybody was always, but he did do it, if memory serves.
Yeah, because you don't have stars in the dunk contest anymore. You got bench guys, you got guys who, they can do one thing, they can jump really high, and that's pretty much it. And that's pretty much their utility in basketball. You got G Leaguer, who's won the last 2 dunk contests. So, and you've got the props. I think also when the props came about with Dwight Howard in the Superman costume, and Blake Griffin jumping over a car, and Nate Robinson jumping over Dwight Howard, and I think that whole thing started with Cedric Sabalas dunking blindfolded in 1994. I want to say.
Yeah, that would probably be. I would say that was probably right. I don't know. I can't remember because I wasn't watching regularly back then.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a dunk contest where it's just about the dunks, not about props, not about guys from the G League who got called up by their team just to participate in the dunk contest. I want to see some more creativity without the props. I would love to see a windmill, like a between the legs windmill dunk. On the 3-point contest, there's got to be some change. I think Steph Curry and Sabrina Ionescu kind of set a precedent with their duel, because that means I would have to think that it'll be NBA versus WNBA, especially next season. Oh
yeah,
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Comes to play in the WNBA.
Yeah, but don't worry. Jay Williams says she's not great.
No, Jay Williams. No, it was Jay Williams who said she's not great until I think he said he's. I can't remember the exact quote, but he did say she's not great. I think he said she's not great until she wins a natty.
Yep. That's what he said. She's not great until she wins. And you know what? It's going to dovetail. Little teaser, but it's going to dovetail. We're going to talk about that. Something similar later in the show. There's plenty of greatness to be had, even if you don't win a title, Jay Williams. We disagree with you, but yeah, I mean, it just is. It's the NBA, like you're saying, they do have to make some changes, but to me, the common denominator in all the leagues, because I did watch the NHL skills competition this year, and I'm not sure if this is new, Ryan, because you're much more of an expert on all things NHL than I am. But I liked how they had, they basically had like a line, and if you didn't make the cut, so to speak, you got dropped. You got dropped from the running. They had, and whoever won the skills competition, it was based on a point system. And Mr. Connor McDavid, he won it. He won it again. One of the announcers made the joke. He's like, people have taken to calling this the McDavid Invitational, but I don't think that's true. But all the different events, I liked the idea of the cutoff line, and I'm not sure how new that is because I don't remember that.
Yeah, instead of individual competitions like the breakaway challenge, the accuracy part, the accuracy shot accuracy, the hardest slap shot, all that stuff is now a singular effort rather than also some of the stick handling competition and fastest skater. That's all one person. That's all like single elimination, but a points elimination and like every player participates. It's not just a handful, one player, a couple players from one team doing like 3 against 3 on fastest skater or stick handling. It's just one. It's just okay. We got 8 players, and we're gonna have 8 players do these particular contests, this particular battery of contest of skills competitions, and through a certain round, we're gonna eliminate players, and whoever wins, and actually whoever won, and Connor McDavid did it again this year. Whoever wins, you get a cool $1 million for yourself.
Straight up mill.
Straight up hot $1 million. So yeah, I mean, I think the NBA should learn from this and reformat to give some incentive. I mean, do something like the NHL does. Like have a 3-on-3 tournament between the divisions and winner take all, and whoever wins it gets to split $1 million amongst themselves. The NBA's got to make it interesting. This format is no change to the format in almost 40 years. It's getting stale, and now you've got an overinflated score, over 200 points for the first time ever in a regulation game in the All-Star game. I mean, something's got to give because you got to make the players. You got to give the players some incentive to play. Whether it be pride for your conference or pride for your division or a cool mill, splitting a cool $1 million. The players got to have some sort of incentive to be there. And like Scott Van Pelt said in his tweet, if you don't care, then we don't care.
Yeah.
All right. So before we take our first only commercial break, we're going to take a trip to the comments section. Sapna checking in. Sports ball. Jersey G checking in. Let's go. Wise El Jefe saying hello, gentlemen. Sapna asks how Jersey G's going. Jersey G says it's going. Had to learn some sports ball stuff. And actually, Sapna has a great question. When will you guys have sports ball for dummies? It will help people like me. That's a great question.
You know what? I think Ryan might have to get on that. I can contribute in some key spots, but if you listen to me, you'd be confusing Sam Weish with Frank Wycheck. It'd be just a cavalcade of errors.
That's okay. That's one of the endearing things about this show is the cavalcade of errors.
Yeah.
Jersey G says, I guess it's baseball time? I thought it was basketball and NASCAR time. Well, spring training started, pitchers and catchers for baseball started last Wednesday, the 14th. The rest of the players showed up this week. So spring training starts this week. Meaningful baseball doesn't really start until the end of next month. Yeah. So, and we're going to cover more baseball. Hopefully if the Yankees keep our interest, we'll cover baseball this year. Maybe we'll go back to the Battle of the Bryans. Maybe we'll have a different battle this year for the Invader Coffee Cup.
Oh yeah, I'll figure something out. It'll have to be because it's like clockwork. Every baseball season, some player gets off to a ridiculously hot start, and you're always like, okay, is this just a spring phenom, or can they keep this going? So I'll get on that. I'll see what's cooking the first couple of weeks of the season. We'll come up with something.
Maybe we can do like rookies from last year, and we'll determine a point system, like some sort of system where we do the same thing like last year with the Battle of the Bryans, but we select 2 rookies from last year, and we watch their progress throughout the season, and we'll figure out who's the Triple Crown champion of the battle of those guys.
Yeah,
do something like that.
All right, yeah, that could work.
All right. Jersey G says, like the show. Yes, absolutely. And Satna says, I never knew there was a Hall of Fame for sports ball. You learn something new every day.
We're here to help.
Yes, we're here to help. We're here to help, Sapna. A Pizzle 90 says McCoffee. What's up there, A Pizzle? Jersey G says hands up, being a lady mentioned here. Woot! Satna says, I know Quidditch. It's a type of sports ball. You need to get the golden snitch. It's worth 150 points.
Oh man, I gotta educate myself on some Quidditch here.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Wonka the Sane checking in. Jersey G, yeah, let's go Eminem's car. And March Madness basketball incoming. We'll suffer stickball stats until then. Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to do a bracket, but I was texting a group of friends yesterday. We talked about the NBA All-Star game, how ridiculously stupid it is, and how we really none of us really pay attention to basketball anymore.
Yeah.
And I was mentioning that I kind of loosely pay attention to the March Madness, but then some like 8 seed or 9 seed always has this miracle run and it F's up my bracket. Looking at you, Florida Atlantic from last season. They ruined my my Final Four pick of San Diego State. That was one of my Final Four picks from last year. And that's pretty much going to do it for comments. So we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'll talk about the stadium. We'll talk about the Stadium Series in the NHL, and we'll do a long-awaited version of the list. So stay tuned to No Credentials Required. Episode of No Credentials Required is brought to you by Invader Coffee. For the coffee lover who wants good, quality coffee with no bullshit and no filler, Invader Coffee is an ultra-premium, veteran-owned coffee company proudly delivering only the best coffee your hard-earned money can buy. They aim to only serve the highest quality, organic, air-roasted coffee beans sourced from free trade farms all over the world. They keep things simple. The best coffee at an affordable price in order to provide you with the value you deserve for your morning boost. 100% fair trade, 100% organic coffee beans, 100% air-roasted, 100% money-back guarantee. Visit invadercoffee.com, enter promo code BELLYUP at checkout, and receive 15% off your order. That's right, folks. Once again, affiliate sponsor for No Credentials Required, Invader Coffee. I got a new order shipment in today, Dustin. I got myself the Don't Cali My Texas blend. Can't wait to try it. I think I've had it before, but it looks like a solid blend. It's a nice medium blend that I found. I had the I still have my bad Santa. I'm going through that.
Yeah.
Going through that, and bought one more pound before they discontinued it for the rest of the season. But go to the link in the description. That's our affiliate link. And not only do you help the show, excuse me, but you also help a veteran-owned coffee company down in Austin, Texas. They make outstanding coffee. It's great value. They air roast it, so there's none of that bitterness that it's usually associated with coffee. That makes you put more sugar and put more creamer than you ought to, because it just adds extra calories. But I drink mine black. I know, Dustin, you drink your bitter coffee black. So, yes. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to try the Don't Cali My Texas blend. Actually, no, it wasn't. Actually, I know what I recently had. I had the Breaking Case of Emergency blend. That's what I had too.
Oh, see, yeah. See, I've had the Don't Cali My Texas blend. It's a very good blend. And I've got, there's cabinets in my kitchen. One of them is chock full of Invader coffee because I am still working on the Cookie Crumble, one of my favorite holiday blends. I also have Bad Santa, and I also have the War Horse Bacon Bourbon blend. That's more of a once in a while treat for me. And I did get a bag myself of the Break in Case of Emergency blend because I have not had that one yet, but I will attest the Don't Cali My Texas blend is a good blend. I also love to get some K-Cups. If you're a K-Cup person.
They're back in stock.
Yep, back in stock. I believe you can get the Mexican chocolate along with the Invader blend, just the original blend. I like to pick up the Invader blend for myself sometimes at the office because, in my opinion, it is very much superior to the brand of coffee that we have at the office. I will keep them nameless, but they can't compete with Invader. And also, if you use our affiliate link and the promo code you get a nice little discount. So give a great product a try. Use the discount. You won't be disappointed.
That's right, folks. If you love their country, if you love supporting veteran-owned businesses, Invader Coffee is the way to go. Please visit the link in the description and get your Invader Coffee today. And use promo code BELLYUP for 15% off your order. All right, NHL Stadium Series. I got a chance to watch the Devils-Flyers game on Saturday night, and I was praying to God that Jack Hughes did not blow out his Achilles tendon on the field of MetLife Stadium. From what I understand, the atmosphere was electric. I would say probably about 60-40 in favor of Devils fans, because MetLife's a big stadium. MetLife Stadium is a big stadium, and I think they had about 70,000.
Wow.
In that stadium. Yeah. I mean, they cut off one. They had some parts of it were under construction for the World Cup. The World Cup final, men's World Cup final, is going to be played at MetLife Stadium in 2026. So they're doing some construction. They also had one of the end zones cartoned off for the Jonas Brothers concert that was happening before and during one of the intermissions. But I was pleased. I was pleased with the result and the fact that New Jersey was being represented fairly, except for one thing. And on the onset of the program, before they set the face up, before they had the teams come out, before they faced off, before anything that happened, 8:00, ESPN ABC rolls footage, and they have Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets come out and talk about New Jersey because he's from New Jersey. He played at Bosco Prep, one of the best prep football programs in the state. I would arguably say the Northeast or the nation. He was talking about New Jersey and how New Jersey's awesome. Talk about Taylor ham sandwiches. Love me some Taylor ham, or but some people call it Taylor pork roll. They're wrong. It's Taylor ham. But all of a sudden, you hear him and you see him talk about the Mark Messier guarantee, Game 6 of 1994 Eastern Conference Final, and you see Mark Messier say, "Sorry, Jersey." I thought that was a slap in the face for New Jersey Devils fans, because this night was not about New York. This night was not about the guarantee. They could have showcased the 3 Stanley Cup titles the Devils won, the fact that they've been to more Stanley Cups since 1994, more Stanley Cup finals since 1994 than the New York Rangers have. So suck on that, Rangers fans. No, they showcased the guarantee in the 1994 Eastern Conference Finals Eastern Conference Final with Game 6, Mark Messier's guarantee. And it's like, guys, read the room. Like, save that for the next day when the Rangers are playing the Islanders. Don't save it for the first night when the Devils are hosting, and it's in their state. They're hosting in a division rival, Philadelphia Flyers. Save that for the next day. There should have been more about the New Jersey Devils for this particular program, for this particular production. But ESPN, because Mark Messier is an analyst, has to totally bone New Jersey Devils fans and say, "Oh, New Jersey's all about the Mark Messier guarantee." It isn't. I'm sorry. Sorry, Rangers fan, but it is what it is. New Jersey Devils have had a better history since they beat the Devils in in 7 games in that Eastern Conference Final to go on to the Stanley Cup. 5 Stanley Cup final appearances, 3 wins compared to 1 Stanley Cup appearance since 1994 for the Rangers. They haven't won one since. So it's like, ESPN, read the room, you jerks. Come on.
I will say now, I didn't see that, but as a Devils fan, do you think, because I will color myself, I will color myself among one of these people, and your esteem of me may go down. I may no longer be the co-host of this show after I say this statement. But do you think that some of people's, I don't know how to say it, but resentment of the Devils or not acknowledging their success is because of the system that they used, the trap system that they used during those Stanley Cup runs or their successful era. Because I know a lot of people had a lot of hate for the trap system. And do you think there's like some resentment being like, oh, that's not the right way to win, quote unquote, or that's a cheap, is some of that to blame, or is it just that the Rangers are assumed to be much more popular than the Devils? I mean, what do you think it is?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dustin Henry's last appearance on I'm just kidding. I think part of it is the hatred towards the New Jersey Devils because for those 3 Stanley Cups, and yes, this is an era where you had to use particular tactics to slow down the much more superior offensively talented players. Look, Jaromir Jagr had his number retired by the Pittsburgh Penguins on Sunday, and John Buccigross, love that dude.
Oh yeah,
from
he's
ESPN,
the man.
From the 4-letter network. He put out he had some compilation. Somebody, either he or somebody on his team, put together a compilation of what Jaromir Jagr was doing during that era, where guys are clutching at him, they're hooking him, they're slashing him, trying to slow him down. But Jaromir Jagr was in his prime in that era. Amidst all that stuff, all those tactics, he was still scoring 100 points a season.
Oh yeah,
he was still scoring 50 goals a year. He was one of the most offensively talented players of European descent that you've ever seen. And for that era, yes, absolutely, the Devils were hated because you would just hear people say, "Oh, they're a system team. They rely on their defense too much. They rely on their goaltending too much." Yeah, because those are the days you had to do that kind of thing in order to win. And by the way, those 3 Stanley Cups were with 3 different coaches with three totally different styles of coaching. Jacques Lemaire, yes, he employed the neutral zone trap. But guess who else did? The Florida Panthers. In a sense, the Detroit Red Wings had their system with the torpedo system, where they had the 5 Russians on the 5 Russian teammates on the ice at the same time. Between Fedorov, Ozolinsh, Kozlov, Konstantinov, and Fetisov, who should have won a Stanley Cup in '95 with the Devils. Unfortunately, Lou Lamoriello shipped him off to Detroit, the trade deadline for Sean Chambers. But Larry Robinson, they had the A line with Sikora, Eliash, and Jason Arnott, and they were one of the highest scoring lines in hockey at that time. And yes, they had a great back line with Ken Danico, Scott Stevens, Colin White, Bruce Driver, like all those guys in the back line. Yeah, and they helped out their goalie, Martin Brodeur, who went up with the most wins in NHL history. 2003, Pat Burns employed, yes, a very disciplined type system, but they would score. I mean, game 1 of the Stanley Cup final in 2003. No, that was 2000. I'm sorry, that was 2000. That was 2000. They scored 7 goals in the first game of the Stanley Cup final. But 2003, there were times when you'd see the Devils score 3-4 goals in a game, or if they go up 2-0, they just clamp it down and Martin Brodeur would make the saves if he needed to. So yeah, I mean, haters gotta hate, but you can't argue the success that the Devils had way back in the day. And people still associate Devils with boring hockey. You don't have to do that anymore. Look at the team they have right now. They have Jack Hughes, who's a perennial all-star, who I'm hoping, well, I don't think he'll reach 100 points this season. He's got catching up to do because he was just injured. Jesper Bratt, a former 6th-round pick, who is one of the leading scorers of the team and was an all-star this year for the first time. Timo Meier, who they picked up at the trade deadline. Nico Hischier, a perennial Selke Trophy candidate who's not only good defensively, but if you watch the game on Saturday, he scored 32 seconds into the game. Went up with 3 points, was the first star of the game. So you can't associate this team with boring hockey. I don't think you can associate any team in the NHL with boring hockey anymore because they've made the rules as such to make the game more offensive, more goals per game. The goal totals have gone up since 2006, since the 2005-2006 season when they implemented these rules. So, yes, back then you could say the Devils were boring. Not now. And I guess you can't associate boring hockey with the Devils anymore because you can't associate boring hockey with any team whatsoever. And going back to your point about the Rangers' popularity, yes, the Rangers have been in that area longer. They've had a fan base longer. You could also argue the Islanders have also had a longer tenure because they've been around longer than the Devils.
Yeah.
There's no denying that the New Jersey Devils fan base is growing. I grew up watching the Devils. I grew up watching the Devils because I'm originally from New Jersey. That's where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved up here in 85, I didn't really start watching hockey until the 88 season. When they went on that run, they beat the Islanders and they beat Washington, the Patrick Division final. And they took the big bad Boston Bruins to 7 games in the Eastern Conference final. So that got me into hockey. That got me into watching hockey. I've been a Devils fan ever since.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to a point, yes, you can argue about the Rangers' popularity. That's why they put Mark Messier in that lead up to the net bumper led up to the game.
Yeah.
But the Devils are a popular team in New Jersey. Their fan base is growing. You shouldn't have done that, ESPN. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you for the most part. I was just curious as to if you thought that at any of the reasons what could be behind it, but I think you've explained it very well, sir. You've explained it very well.
I apologize if I went on a little bit of a long-winded reasoning, but I mean,
this is our show.
The way I
can
feel.
do whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the way I feel. It's my team. You shouldn't have done that to my team.
Yep.
Now I'm expecting an apology from the Mickey Mouse Network. Yes,
you're gonna get one. You're gonna get one personally from Mark Messier himself.
Yeah. Whatever. Don't care. I said what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Deal with it. All right. We have not done this in a while, Dustin, but it's time to break out the list.
You just made the list! Oh my gosh.
That's still one of my favorite bumpers you've done. I started laughing before you even played it.
You did. You were holding it back.
I was giddy with anticipation.
So this highly anticipated version of the list, we're gonna talk about now. Yes, NFL season has ended. Super Bowl was last week. The psyop is complete. I don't have a gun to my head. There's no red dot here. We're gonna talk about the top NFL quarterbacks who never won a Super Bowl. Now, we're not talking about players who were pre-Super Bowl era. We're talking about players who played in the Super Bowl era. So from about 1967 onward, we're talking about those quarterbacks. We're talking about the quarterbacks who never won a Super Bowl. There are plenty from the era we grew up in, Dustin. So we kind of went through it a couple weeks ago before we decided to talk about the playoffs and the championship games and the Super Bowl and what we're looking forward to for the Super Bowl. But let's go over some quarterbacks in our mind that we can remember that never won a Super Bowl. I'll start with you.
Well, for me, the first pick that rockets to mind, and there's more than you think. Once we started going back and forth, I was like, man, there's a lot of talent. But the first name that comes to mind for me is Dan Marino. Mm-hmm. Dan Marino, I know you are up close and personal with his greatness, having to deal with him as a Jets fan for many years. But Dan Marino he's close to the top of that list for me. He had all the talent, all the talent to you would think that he was gonna win a Super Bowl, and it was either in a 30 for 30, the Elway to Marino 30 for 30 that I watched,
Yep.
or his episode of Football Life, or something else that I watched, where he said, when you're young, you think, oh, we're definitely going to be back. We have the talent. We're going to be back. We've got good receivers. We've got a good defense. We've got some talent. I will be back. He never made it back. They never made it back in spite of all his talent. And there are people out there, and I don't think they're too out of their depth. Some people regard him as one of the best raw quarterbacks to come out, and some of his records have since been broken. But I think Dan Marino would have destroyed the modern NFL with some of the rule changes that benefit the passing game and some of the legislation, quote unquote, of defense out of the game. Dan Marino would have been ridiculous in this era. So he's at the top of the list for me as far as a quarterback with that is one of the greatest to have never won a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, Dan Marino. There's a couple of quarterbacks on this list that I had to endure, who through my football watching years during the 80s and the 90s that tortured me as a Jets fan. But it was I wouldn't say it. I'll say it's in a very twisted way. It did give me pleasure not seeing them win Super Bowls. My mom will attest this. And hi, Mom, love you. Oh, and Dad too. She loved whenever the Dolphins played anyone and he was harassed and he would throw interceptions or he'd throw incompletions or his receiver didn't run the right route or anything, he would pout. He would literally pout. My mom took twisted pleasure in seeing him pout.
Yes.
Especially if the Jets or the Bills or the Giants played him. So yeah, the thing that tortures me to this day is the fact that the Jets didn't take Marino 3 spots ahead in that 1983 draft. They took Ken O'Brien instead, and Ken O'Brien had a decent career. I think he's the leader in passing efficiency for the Jets all time. I believe he's also the passing touchdowns leader and yardage leader. Although Joe Namath could be the leader, the passing yards leader for that team, and he did it in less games per year. But the fact the Jets were not inclined to take Dan Marino because of the rumors that he was a coke addict or he took steroids or all those unfounded drug rumors, and he talked about it in that document in that ESPN 30 for 30.
Yeah.
I think Jim Covert, who was his offensive lineman in college, said, "Yeah, he never did that."
Yeah, he's like, I was his roommate. Dan didn't do anything,
No, Dan's thing was football and classes. That was it.
Yeah.
During that time. Maybe a lady or two in the dorm room too, but it's just college. But
yeah, no, there's something about that 83 that 83 draft, because your Jets, they did not take Marino. Well, my Seattle Seahawks did not take John Elway, and supposedly, if in that 30 for 30, his agent says there was real interest. John Elway, he famously did not want to go to Baltimore, and he caused caused all the stir. But he says right in that documentary, he said, I would have loved to gone to Seattle. He's like, I was interested in going to the Seahawks, and no disrespect to Kurt Warner, because I believe that's who they took with the pick there
from Penn State.
But man, we could have had John Elway.
Well, if you remember that documentary, George Steinbrenner had John Elway lined up for the 1985 New York Yankees roster. He was going to play, I think, second base or right field. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't either.
I can't remember the name, but he said Don Mattingly was in that lineup too. Don Mattingly was in that lineup, and at the time, I think during the summer, he was playing Double-A ball with the Oneonta Yankees. John Elway did, so that you could do that back. I guess you could do that back then, or he was getting ready to play with them. in that season. But yeah, he's like, I'm not playing Baltimore. I'm going to play baseball at the Yankees. And I had a former coworker at another job. Now he hated John Elway, not because he was a Raiders fan per se, but for the fact that John Elway would have been a New York Yankee if he didn't play for the Baltimore Colts. Then he got traded, and he's like, I hate John Elway.
Now, there's also one of my friends who was at the Super Bowl party. He dislikes John Elway with quite a passion, and I've never really understood why, because he's a Dolphins fan. I don't know why he hates John Elway, but he does.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
You ask him about it. John Elway, not so, and John Fox. He didn't like John Fox either. Despises both of them. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Your friend's a rational hatred for confusing. So, sticking with the 83 draft, another top NFL quarterback who never won a Super Bowl, went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls, yes. Jim Kelly. And in that documentary, remember that we're going back, we're doing recall to that documentary, that 30 for 30.
Yeah.
I remember him saying in that interview, he said, you know, the one thing I avoided that TV. I avoided that TV throughout the day because I didn't want to get that phone call. I didn't want to get that phone call saying that I wanted to go to the Buffalo Bills. I didn't want to go to the Buffalo Bills. They had a pick earlier. They took someone else. And he was like, oh, thank God I did not go into Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think it's the phone call from the Buffalo Bills saying, yeah, we selected you. I can't remember the exact order. I think they selected him 13th or 14th overall.
Yeah, something like that.
He was like, why do I have to go to Buffalo? So he went up going to the USFL instead.
Yeah.
Houston Gamblers owned his rights.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he played there for 83. Was it 84 and 85 he played for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he played for a couple of years there.
Yeah. And he was supposed to be a New Jersey General. They were going to, the Gamblers and the Generals, fun fact here, going full nerd on you. But the Houston Gamblers and the New Jersey Generals, Donald Trump, who was the owner of the Generals, was going to, I guess they were going to do a dispersal draft, and he was going to take Jim Kelly, and he's going to play for the New Jersey Generals. But then that whole lawsuit came about with the antitrust lawsuit, the NFL came about, and they only got $3.76 out of that lawsuit because of all the because of all the fees they had to pay, and because half the league was, actually, I don't say half the league, 95% of the league was broke, except for him and another owner, and they dissolved. And Jim Kelly went to the Bills anyway. Played for them started playing for them in 85 up until I think, was it 1999 was his last season, I want to say, or 1998.
Yeah.
So he had a good career. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because who took over for him? Ironically enough, who took over for him in Buffalo? It was Doug Flutie.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Who started his professional career with the New Jersey Generals.
Yeah, and remember that controversy? It was, are they going to go with Rob Johnson or Doug Flutie? Should have went with Flutie. That's Wade Phillips as a head coach.
Wade Phillips sucks as a head coach.
Yeah.
See, there's a reason why we talk about this program, how certain head coaches usually just stayed coordinators, and Wade Phillips is one of those guys. Yeah. Great coordinator, terrible head coach. So, continuing on the list of names, Doug Flutie is certainly another quarterback, NFL quarterback. He's certainly on that list for a guy who's never won a Super Bowl. Another guy on that list, Warren Moon. Although both those quarterbacks won Grey Cups with the CFL.
That's what I was going to say. That's why a lot of people tend to discount Warren Moon's greatness and Doug Flutie's. I mean, Doug Flutie used the CFL to get back to the NFL, because the CFL, and he was very frank about it. He said that the CFL fit his play style better. He said there were some rule differences in the CFL that felt like they suited his game better. And he said, I'm going to do I loved playing in the CFL. He was very complimentary about his time there. He said, I loved playing for the league and they had great fans and everything. But he said, ultimately the goal, I knew if an NFL team called, I wanted to get back there. And the same thing with Warren Moon. Warren Moon, people discount him all the time. He was phenomenal in the CFL. He was absolutely great. And, you know, I remember Warren Moon when he came back to the NFL. I think he played for the Seahawks, the Vikings. I'm trying to think of some of the other teams.
The Oilers.
The Oilers. The Oilers. That's where we know most of his NFL time from. At least that's what I mostly remember. But I remember thinking that Warren Moon, even at his advanced age at the time, the Seahawks are trying to start John Kitna. And I'm like, no, put Warren Moon in there. Get Warren Moon going, you know. Warren Moon's the man. I love Warren Moon.
Yeah, and, well, there's another reason why Warren Moon started his career in these CFLs, because back then, black quarterbacks were not considered to be smart. And this is the stories have been told to me. I'm not saying this to be inflammatory or racist, but NFL owners and GMs didn't consider black quarterbacks to be smart enough for the position. Yeah. Which is a horrible thing to say. Yeah. And that's why a lot of black quarterbacks went to the CFL and had so much success. Warren Moon being one of those guys. He won, I think it was either 4 or 5 consecutive Grey Cups with the then Edmonton Eskimos. They're now known as the Edmonton Elks. That's another story. That's another podcast for another day. But he had so much success. He split time with I can't remember the quarterback. Tom Wilkinson, who was another Edmonton Eskimos quarterback who had a lot of success in there. But Warren Moon was considered his heir apparent and led them to 4 consecutive Grey Cups. Then he signed with Houston, and his NFL career took off. And with Doug Flutie, he won a pair of Grey Cups. He won a couple of Grey Cups. He didn't win one in BC, but he won one in Calgary, and I think he won 2 consecutive Grey Cups with the Toronto Argonauts. And fun fact, Doug Flutie, he was the losing quarterback on the 1995 Grey Cup team, which was the only Grey Cup won by a team based in the United States of America. I don't know if you've ever seen me wore the T-shirt around, Dustin, but I had the Baltimore Stallions 1995 Grey Cup champions T-shirt.
Oh, man. I haven't seen that one.
From Royal Retros. I'll have to wear it sometime.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'll continue with some of the other quarterbacks. Steve McNair.
Oh, yeah.
Went to 1 Super Bowl, never went back. Randall Cunningham, never won a Super Bowl.
Got to talk about Randall. I mean, and this is the thing, and I hope this common theme, you know, obviously Ryan and I are sitting here, we're basically telling you with some of these quarterbacks on this list, that whole school of thought by those owners back at that time, woefully stupid and a dumb thing. Obviously, there are many quarterbacks, many black quarterbacks who can play this game at a high level and extremely high level, and we've got plenty in the game today, as a matter of fact. Yep. So I'm glad that Warren Moon and other trailblazers like that, Doug Williams, he did win a Super Bowl, so that's why he's not on this list.
The first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl.
Yes, but the trailblazers like that.
Well, as a starter, there was a black quarterback. I believe it was Jackie Harris, who was a backup quarterback for Terry Bradshaw for 3 of the Steelers teams.
Oh man,
there's one other quarterback we're leaving off this list, Michael Vick.
Yeah, Michael Vick is a perfect example. That was one, you know, and this is kind of on me because you're the one that said Michael Vick, and I
did.
I didn't even no, it didn't even occur to me, and it's almost because Michael Vick. If you were around when he was playing for Virginia Tech, And then when he was young with the Atlanta Falcons, I kind of put Michael Vick in another stratosphere, like it just, it's not that you forget that he's a quarterback, but he could do so many things that not a lot of quarterbacks could do. He had it all. He was like Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson. And I would say, don't hate me, people in the comments, but I would say Michael Vick had a superior arm than Lamar Jackson.
I would agree. I agree.
Michael Vick could throw a beautiful deep ball. I can remember Michael Vick. He was the guy. There was this old video that came out back in the day when the internet was like more prominent than it had been when it first came out in the early 90s, but it wasn't prominent the way it was today in video editing where you're questioning everything. But there's a video showing Michael Vick throwing a ball out of the stadium, and you're like,
the Powerade commercial, I think.
Yeah, you're like, wait, I think that's edited, but like, is this real? Like he's such an otherworldly talent that you're like, I'm pretty sure that's edited, but did he actually do that?
I got it.
There we go. All
right, I got it. Well, it's Powerade. Sorry, not Powerball. Powerade.
Oh, Powerade. Yeah. I didn't realize you said Powerball. Yolanda Vega, big fan of the show. Credhead.
Big fan of the show. That's Yolanda. Hope you're tuned in. Leave a review or a like if you can. All right, let me bring up that commercial. Just share the screen. Michael Vick Powerade. Boom.
Do you want a handheld?
I'm not going
See that? That's Michael Vick right there, number 7. Oh, I saw that. Baby! Man, he blew a hole in that dude's chest. I told you, man. Look at that. Oh, are you getting this? Oh, no, that's crazy. That is crazy. He didn't do that. I think he did.
See, that's the thing. I mean, obviously the guy's getting hit with the stomach, but you look at that throw and you're like, did he do that?
Yeah.
It's just
crazy for that time. It was crazy special effects, but yeah. I mean, Michael Vick, man, if he didn't have that dog, that pit bull fighting ring, that dude could have been one of the greats.
Oh yeah, and I mean, honestly, we saw a glimpse of it when he came back, and the Eagles took a chance on him, and he had some of his best seasons when he was under the tutelage of Andy Reid. So he was an absolute phenom. And I know I didn't see this man play, but there's a lot of fans that are going to come after me if I don't mention him, so I'm going to. Dan Fouts is another quarterback who a lot of people mention as one of the greatest quarterbacks to never win a championship. So got it for the San Diego Charger fans out there. He's throwing passes to Kellen Williams Sr. I got to make sure I say senior on that one. But a lot of people have a lot of great things to say about Dan Fouts. Like I said, I can't attest to it personally because I didn't see him play, but he is a name that constantly comes up.
Yeah. It's some of these quarterbacks with the greatness they had. I mean, some of them are in the Hall of Fame. Jim Kelly's in the Hall of Fame. Dan Marino, Hall of Fame. I believe Dan Fouts is in the Hall of Fame too. Randall Cunningham certainly if he's not there, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Deserves to be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Randall Cunningham set the tone, was the catalyst for the quarterbacks like Michael Vick and Jalen Hurts. And some of the guys like today, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, who arguably, his career's been a little bit star-crossed, but look at the talent he didn't have around him in his first 3 seasons with the Bears.
Yeah.
And he had to run around the field and run around the field and make all those mistakes. And now he's essentially, I would say, trade bait at this point, but hopefully he rebounds and he ends up with a great career. Patrick Mahomes, one of those guys. I mean, he's biracial, but guess what? He's still back-to-back champ, 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Greatness right. There's some greatness right there. All right. So we're going to close things up with one last trip to the comment section. Jersey G coming at me saying, it's pork roll. I'm not wrong. That's the product name. Taylor Ham is the brand name. You know I'm technically correct.
I hope that she is shaking her fist like you are right now.
I'm pretty sure she did before she wrote that comment. It's pork roll. Look, I just like to get her jimmies up because I like to say that. It's Taylor Ham. It's pork roll.
I'm much more of a rum ham fan myself.
Rum ham. I'm sorry, rum ham. One of the best episodes of Always Sunny.
Oh yeah.
Sapna says I will give more Quidditch game information next time. Yay! Then say how Harry Potter won the first game. LOL.
Yes. 3 points for Gryffindor.
Yes. Jersey G. Devils. That's right. Go Devils. She also says, wait, Dan is like the GOAT. In terms of stats, yeah. I mean, he pretty much set the NFL on fire with all those passing stats before a certain quarterback from the University of Michigan, 6th round pick, former draft pick of the Montreal Expos, came into the league.
Yeah.
Well, also Drew Brees too.
Drew Brees. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the first Saints fan to say, "What about Archie Manning? Wasn't he one of the greatest ones to win a Super Bowl?"
I somehow doubt that a Saints fan is going to have the accent that you just gave them.
I got to find a mix of like Edith Bunker and Cajun. I don't have one. Wonka the Stain said, I would love to put a Seahawk quarterback on this list.
Yeah.
Just can't do it. Can't even include any current hometown Bengals. Sorry, Boomer. Yeah, Boomer Esiason was a flash in the pan for like a season or two before he went to the Jets. And he had a good season in 93 or 94. But, I mean, I can't think of any other. I mean, in 88 when he went to the Super Bowl with the Bengals. But other than that, I can't really think of anything. And by the way, Boomer Esiason, you're a total turd for saying the CFL is a beer. All right? Total turd. It's not a beer league. It's not a glorified beer league. It's a legit league. You're just a moron who thinks the NFL is insane.
Oh man.
I love to hear him say this. I want to sit him in front of a TV and just say, watch the CFL with me. It is not a glorified beer league. It is. I have fun watching it. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I might have a project coming down the road with a certain snowman covering the CFL for next season. So yeah, stay tuned for that announcement. Drew Willingham, D Willie, friend of the show, saying what's up, fellas. He also says about just a certain Dolphins fan. Maybe he despises people to name John.
I don't know.
No way, John Fox.
I'll have to ask him. He was at the Super Bowl party. I should have asked him.
Wonka the Stain chiming in. Moon Fantasy Stats: 350 yards per game and 0 TDs. Discounted. LOL. Love the Seattle-based radio show. Yeah. Warren Moon, one of those guys.
Yeah, no, I still, I mean, he's a good quarterback for sure. To me, a great one, but there was something he did with one of his grandsons. He's making cookies on a football life, his football life, and I get it. Marshawn Lynch was in Seattle at the time. He's making chocolate chip cookies and putting Skittles in them, and I was like, we can't be doing this, Warren. We can't be doing this.
No, I'm sorry. Fruit flavored candies and chocolate chips do not go together.
They do not. But I think his grandson picked. It was meant to be a heartwarming moment. But all I could focus on was I would not eat those cookies.
No, I would get instant diabetes. And last comment of the night goes to Jersey D, who says she was shaking her fist when I said Taylor Ham and not Taylor Portland. All right, we're going to end things here for this edition of No Credentials Required. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to go to our social channels down here below. Twitter, Instagram, and the scarcely used TikTok. It's at NoCredsREQ. Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ. YouTube.com/ at NoCredsRQ. And as always, please do us a favor and like, comment, share, and subscribe to all of our social media channels. And speaking of subscribe to the podcast wherever you podcast. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Good Pods, wherever you podcast. Rate and review. 5-star rating would be helpful. A review would be super helpful too, because that means more people will notice this podcast and subscribe, and hopefully listen and subscribe. And whether you're watching live tonight, a Tuesday at approximately 9:24 p.m. Eastern time, or you're watching a replay on the No Connectors Required YouTube channel or Twitter or Facebook, or you're watching tomorrow 8 a.m. Eastern on our Rumble channel or the Belly Up Sports YouTube page, please engage with the show. Leave a comment. We would love to interact with you. And thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And as always, you've been tuned in to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are presented by Belly Up Sports in association with Gozilla Media. For Dustin Henry, I'm Ryan McCarthy, and we'll talk to you next time.
Good night, everybody.
Don Mattingly in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Do it, do it, do it.
Need to correct this injustice.
Yes, this injustice must be corrected.